Sometimes there are weeks between series and playoffs where there's really nothing happening, and you can just talk about the games. This is not one of those weeks. That's for certain. Let's get into it. In case you need a quick catch up on where things stand and you didn't watch Monday's video, which I would highly recommend going to check out, Team Liquid lost in a very close 5-game series to Lion. FlyQuest lost in a very close 5-game series to Cloud9. We will not see the winners of those two series until next week. So this weekend we have the losers matchups. We have Sentinels versus FlyQuest, and we have Team Liquid versus Shopify. Now, normally I would do the headlines first and then save the matchups for later, but I want this to focus on the games in case you need the catch up and quick predictions, because I don't think there's as much to say about this upcoming weekend other than just like general excitement for the series to come. And I want to save the second half of this video for the headlines, which are a little bit more Starting with probably the most important matchup of the weekend in terms of expectations, at least. FlyQuest versus Sentinels is an absolute banger, which you wouldn't think because FlyQuest just took C9 to 5 games, right? Like, this should be a blowout. They're clearly leveling up to the point where they'll be fine in playoffs. Well, tell that to Sentinels, who have beaten them every single time that they've played them so far. Like, it's crazy. Sentinels just has their number, which we expected, to be fair, because FlyQuest was expected to take more time to develop. But now you're looking at a FlyQuest that very much could go toe-to-toe with them. And the winner of this series is very much a dark horse to possibly make a run later into the playoffs. How do I see this particular one going? Well, Topside, Impact in playoffs has historically always had a buff. It's just the Impact rock. He would pull out the Shen, he'd pull out some of these tank picks that were just staples for him, the Mordekaiser being another one that he would occasionally pull out, and just absolutely destroy folks on him. However, I would say one of the strongest parts of FlyQuest so far in playoffs has been Gakko. Well, I guess this entire split has been Gakkos. So I do think it is going to be a struggle for Impact to nullify Gakkos in this series. And if Impact steps up, then great. By all means, he just has that buff that disappeared a little bit towards the end of last year with Team Liquid. But don't forget, this is a squad that is already qualified for EWC. So they're playing with a little bit more pressure off their back. Sure, they'd love to go to MSI. But I feel like this FlyQuest squad, given how they perform, now has a little bit more weight of expectations on their shoulders than you would have thought coming into this. So, you never know. Tides could turn. In the jungle, Hanbok has been absolutely incredible this split, but Griffin has also leveled up massively. Like, I don't have anything to say other than these two are just going to go head-to-head and just, it's like immovable force meets unstoppable object in terms of wanting to do shit. And it's going to be fun to watch. Mid lane, Quad's been playing incredible. Dark Wings has been a neutralizer. It feels like you kind of have two of those in both top and mid lane for Sentinels. I'm not going to give an advantage either way, but bot lane is where all focus absolutely should be, because in order for Sentinels to win, it very much is Hanbok setting up the Huhi and Rahel show. And they need to carry their asses off against a bot lane in FlyQuest who has leveled up pretty drastically. Maso has looked pretty good. We're not going to talk about Game 5. And then, oh God, the Kalista Renata, we just ain't going to discuss that part. If you ignore that, everything else looked pretty damn good from them. But Rahel, I would argue, if you want anybody in a Game 5 situation right now in the LCS that's not named Berserker, I'd want Rahel, personally. And Huhi, Spring Huhi's not something you want to mess with. He's really not. Come summer, the problems started rising a little bit. But I even said last night that I think I favor FlyQuest in this matchup just based on recent trend. I've changed my tone in the last 24 hours, honestly. The more I think about this, the more I think that Sentinels can just get their number. And if they set up the pieces right, I just feel like they can really neutralize what FlyQuest is trying to do. Like, it's just one of those weird matchups for FlyQuest. That, like, against C9, yeah, I have faith that Fly might be able to do it. But against Sentinels, I'm swapping my pick to 3-2 Sentinels, which is crazy. I didn't think I would do that as of today, but I'm just feeling a little bit different on it. On the Team Liquid versus Shopify point, I'm not going to talk too much on this because I think the expectation is very clear. Team Liquid should 3-0, 3-1 this. There's not much else to say that I haven't already said over on the Harbor. Team Liquid made some mistakes against Lion, but I think even if they make those same mistakes in this series, there's no reason to believe it will fall that far to the point where Shopify should win. Now, yeah, Shopify could step up and play better than they have been, as was evident by the final series that they played in the regular season. But that wasn't against the top 4 team. I'm sorry. It's a completely different playing field. It's a completely different caliber. This is not one of those situations. I'm going 3-0 Team Liquid, and it's not even going to be close. At least Saturday, hopefully, we'll have a good series. That's the benefit. Now, the reason why I wanted to get through the previews is so that we can talk about LCS viewership, which I know some people might want to tune out in. I gave you your preview. You're free to go. But I have a feeling a lot of people want to talk about it, given the Reddit thread that went up yesterday, which had esports charts publishing the data saying that, yes, Spring Split was at its lowest viewership it has ever been in the history of the LCS. There was notably one positive that came out of all this, which was Jinxie co-streamed, I think, like a single game of the C9 versus FlyQuest series, which allowed us to hit the peak that you're seeing here. But then the next day he didn't stream, and it's a 40,000 difference for an equally insane matchup. That's our average. So our best matchups in North America are hitting 100,000 viewers without Jinxie co-streaming it. Now, you can make the argument of, oh, well, just get Jinxie to co-stream. That only lasts so long. If there's not genuine interest, it only lasts so long. So we are in a really bad state. Like, obviously, I raised the alarm bells on this earlier on in the split. I didn't want to beat a dead horse with it, but now that the regular season's wrapped up, we can officially talk about it. Dropping from an 80,000 average to 50,000 officially, like this is just our average concurrent that we will permanently be at until something major changes, is a problem. And you're going to see ripple effects of this going into next year that I just want to warn you all now of. You can't lose that much value and then expect everything to remain as is within the league, because there's no way that'll pay the bills. Like, there's just cascading problems that will flow from this. And the Reddit thread about this topic is just a mess. Like, not in a terrible way. Like, I've seen versions of this conversation that happen on that subreddit, typically once a month, be really bad. But people seem to be genuine for the most part. Genuine to the point where there's like, let me check how many. Now, 897 comments. Over 300 in the first 2 hours of this alone. And I was reading through some of the comments about it, and I agree with actually the majority of them. The biggest one being that the state of the broadcast is actually really good right now. The dynamic we have between the talent that's there on air is fantastic. Like, when I say this, I'm saying ignore the games on the Rift. Like, the actual product itself, I think, is decently good given the circumstances of playing from a closet. Nothing they can do about that, but they're making the absolute most of it that they can. The reality is you can't stop this. Like, we are officially in the death spiral, so to speak. I thought that we had bottomed out last year. We in fact did not. And I would love to say that this is bottoming out, but I can't honestly tell you that either. I don't know where our floor is at as a region. And it's very clear that there's nothing anyone, at least outside the players, in my opinion, even the current batch of players, barring like Griffin, I don't know how much they can change it. Even if they were to magically start doing content and embrace everything that they should be, as discussed on Miss Chim Chim's podcast with Basil, Summoner Sofa, which, by the way, if you haven't checked it out, great watch. They dove into this. Perry Jungle talked a little bit about it last week as well. We got no superstars. They didn't build themselves up to be that. They don't want to take that responsibility upon themselves and do content and do all the things that you need to do to grow all this for a region that clearly is not going to be the most competitive in the world. We will never be the LCK. Hell, we're not even at the... I mean, I don't want to say we're not at the LEC because we very much are. Like, the games themselves are good enough quality to match the LEC, other than like the road shows and things happening there. But people just don't give a shit about the players. Or the teams, for that matter, to be very clear. Like, I do put a lot of blame on TSM not being here anymore and Reggie screwing the pooch. If Reggie was Hex and you replace the two, dude, Call of Duty would be in the dust and we'd be thriving in North America so much. It's crazy. But the reason I want to talk about this is just to warn you all what I think might happen. And this is entirely a guess. This is not obviously informed in any way, shape, or form. I keep myself out of the rumor mills and beyond. So even if there were rumors of things going on, I would not personally know about them. But you are going to have to see drastic change to this league next year. I don't know whether that's them putting it all online with more road shows. I can't even sit here and tell you that because we lost viewership by 25%. So the money that you're getting from sponsorships is going to drop as well. Like the funding that we have for this region is going down next year without a question, unless Riot for some reason has like a minimum floor, of which then we're probably operating at a deficit. There's so much like uncertainty around the financials of all this, other than the fact that we know that teams are losing money hand over fist. We know nothing on the Riot side. So it's impossible for me to sit here and tell you what levers they have, what mechanics exist in terms of the global revenue pool of money coming down. I don't know. But I'd be shocked if one of two things didn't happen, which is, as I previously mentioned, us going entirely online for the most part and cutting a majority of talent costs and staff costs. Like that feels like the first thing that's going to happen. To a certain degree, you can't degrade the product so much, and it's very clear they still want North America to be a thing. Or two, and this might be the more extreme step that I think they tried to take last year but messed up on it, and the proper step would be the one I'm about to say. You're going to see a merger. And they're not going to sugarcoat the fact this time. They're like, oh, it's for the betterment of Brazil and North America. One, I don't think Brazil and North America ever merge again. I just don't think that happens. But what I think could happen in the near future, if not next year, maybe years in the future, whenever Riot decides to finally like break the emergency glass, is that you simply send some North American teams over to the LEC. And we join their ecosystem. And it becomes kind of the West. And Brazil just like gets to have their own thing. Because it's very clear that the interest for North American players is there on those teams. I mean, look at Busio, look at Jojo Pyun, look at the success that they're having over there, as well as the popularity that they're gaining. It's not that North American players can't thrive in those ecosystems. It's just us as an audience. We don't care about the teams and the players here because they don't meet the criteria that we need for them to strike our attention. Over in Europe, as long as you play for one of the top teams, they still have that juice and can get it done. So that's one of my two predictions that I think could happen here. But something will. And budgets will be determined for next year sometime in the next 2 months. Remember the whole LTA unmerger thing that they said started happening right after spring split? The decisions will start happening very, very quickly after the split is done. And we have no clue what shape that's going to take. I know a lot of people are scared of change to come, given how much change we've already had. But like, you can't keep it stable either. We're not at the point where we can afford stable, both in terms of afford the viewership, but also like quite literally afford. I don't have a good answer for you here. But the thing I would tell you is, whatever happens with us in North America and our viewership and our league and beyond, I'll be here. I'm still excited to talk about it. There were people that asked me like, oh, are you just going to cover the LEC then? I don't think North America is going away in any capacity. It's just going to get consolidated to somewhere else. And there's enough interest that you could do like LEC road trips as they currently have them. Have one or two of those in North America. And fly 4 teams over here, including like 2 of the teams that we send over there, like, I don't know, C9 and TL. And then bring, you know, whatever rivalries they got with European orgs that obviously aren't K Corp and Koi because they're going to be traveling enough as this. Do that. Can make it work. But it's a dark cloud hanging over the league that I wanted to just address it in its own little thing here and not dilute with anything else, because I mean, this has been the major talking point for so many people all year, or not all year, but all week. And that's it. I wish I had a better ending on that for you, but I don't. So if you enjoyed this video, despite obviously a little bit heavier of a topic, be sure to drop a like down below, hit that subscribe button. I'll still be here no matter what happens. I got an unhealthy passion for this thing, which will, no matter what, keep me around, because I just freaking love it. And I love my region, man. And I'm not one of those people that thinks like, oh, it's dead, it's done, I need to find this other thing. I have faith that something will come from the ashes. It's just a question of what that'll be, who knows.